New in the last 5 minutes, in the last 15 minutes, in the last hour, in the last 2 hours. Court orders arrest of suspect in plot to murder Russian journalist. Kiev court orders detention of suspect in plot to murder Russian journalist. Makeup and pig's blood. Reporter describes his faked slang video moment. Former monk and arms dealer do alleged deal to kill Babchenko. Arkady Babchenko, pig's blood, makeup and a morgue. Pig's blood, makeup and a morgue. Ovechkin, Babchenko and the politics of Russian hockey. Anti-Kremlin journalist smeared in pig's blood to fool the world. Notorious Putin critic fakes his own death, catches assassin in the process. In the last 4 hours, Russian journalist Arkady Babchenko defends fake stunt. Putin critic Babchenko, I chose to stay alive. Russian journalist who faked death. I wanted to avoid Skripal's fate. Russian's phony assassination undermines Ukraine's credibility. Babchenko says he was covered in pig's blood for fake death. Ruse. Babchenko staged assassination draws widespread condemnation. Babchenko case sparks fears among anti-Kremlin emigres in Ukraine. Fake deaths, the dead spy, the drowned MP, the lost canoeist. Reporters hoax death used pig's blood. Arkady Babchenko, pig's blood and makeup artist helped fake death. Video in the last 6 hours. Babchenko's hitman turns to SVU on his own. Journalist. NewsHour. Ukraine security services faked murder of Russian journalist. Ukraine under fire after faking journalist's murder. Here is what links Julian Assange. Arkady Babchenko, artist journalist who faked death. I didn't want to share Skripal's fate. Babchenko decides to become Ukrainian citizen. Russian journalist. Babchenko had doubts initially about plot against him. Russian journalist, pig's blood, makeup artist helped fake his death. Russia bewildered by staging of journalist's death in Ukraine. Opinion. Ukraine's cynical Arkady Babchenko deception journalist who faked death. I didn't want to share Skripal's fate. CPJ seeks answers on staged death of journalist Babchenko. Arkady Babchenko tells media he was taken to morgue for staged murder. Russian journalist's fake murder involved swine blood in morgue. Ukraine criticized for dead journalist subterfuge. Video. Russian journalist Arkady Babchenko holds news conference. A journalist is back from the dead, but Russian dissidents feel uneasy. Murdered Russian journalist used pig blood to fake his own death. Russian journalist Babchenko used pig's blood to fake his own death in the last 8 hours. Russian journalist pig's blood, makeup artist helped fake his death. Arkady Babchenko, the plot twist that crossed the line after Babchenko's resurrection. Twitter reacts accordingly, with memes. Russia criticizes Ukraine for helping to stage journalist's death. IFJ slams staged murder of journalist. Plots and sackings in Ukraine. Arkady Babchenko's faked death seen as a blow to independent journalism. IFJ, Babchenko case in Ukraine damages media credibility. EU says Ukraine has the right to protect its territory. Babchenko's faked murder will hurt both Ukraine and the wider West. Earlier today, Ukraine official explains why they faked reporter's death, why Russia can claim the moral high ground over Babchenko. IFJ calls Russian journalist Babchenko affair intolerable. Russia uses journalist's resurrection to cast doubt on spy poisoning. Babchenko case intolerable and unacceptable. Ukraine, a country of miracles, where people rise from the dead. Video. Ukraine releases video of suspect in journalist murder attempt by faking Babchenko's murder. Ukraine has smeared itself. Thank God. Putin critic still alive, says Russia. Are these the hitmen sent to kill Putin critic Babchenko in Ukraine? Franco-Romanian precedent for journalist Babchenko staged fake murder. Ukraine's assassination hoax has played into Vladimir Putin's hands. Ukraine under pressure after faking journalist's death. Russian journalist Arkady Babchenko defends staged death. Kremlin calls staging of Russian journalist's death in Kiev strange. Babchenko faked death could boost Russia's denial of fake news, says expert. Babchenko and Browder show the very real dangers from Putin's Russia. EU awaiting details on Babchenko case. Mogherini's spokesperson OSCE criticizes staging of Babchenko's murder. Joy in newsroom as reporters find out murdered colleague wasn't murdered. Ukraine staged murder.